I saw the message before she did. 3 words changed everything. And for a second, I still tried to pretend they didn't. Her phone lit up on the kitchen counter while she was upstairs. The screen angled just enough for me to read it. I miss you already. And in that quiet space, with the fridge humming behind me and rain tapping softly against the window, something inside me shifted. Not slowly, instantly. I told myself it could mean anything, that it didn't have to be what it looked like. But the truth is, some things don't need context. They arrive already carrying their own weight. She came downstairs a minute later, still drying her hair, moving through the room like everything was normal, like the ground beneath us hadn't just cracked open. She smiled when she saw me, crossed the kitchen in bare feet, and kissed my cheek, as if nothing had changed. And that was the moment that stayed with me. Not the message, not even the words, but how easily she smiled. Like she had no idea I was already falling. I didn't say anything that night, not because I was calm, but because I was afraid of what would happen if I gave that moment a voice. Because once I asked, there was no going back. Everything we had would either survive or collapse, and I wasn't ready to watch it collapse. So I said nothing, and in the silence, I started noticing everything. That's the thing about suspicion. Once it gets in, it doesn't stay still. It spreads, quietly, through everything. A delayed reply becomes a signal. A change in tone becomes a warning. A small smile at a blank screen starts to feel like betrayal before you even know who it belongs to. Before that night, I would have told you we were fine. Not perfect, but real. 4 years together. Long enough to believe in it, long enough to stop questioning it. I knew her patterns, her habits, her silences, or at least I thought I did. Because in the days that followed, nothing obvious happened, and somehow that made it worse. No dramatic mistake, no clear proof, just small changes, subtle, controlled, but impossible to ignore once you saw them. She started taking her phone everywhere. Bathroom, balcony, kitchen, every movement. Her hand closing around it like it mattered more than anything else in the room. Then there was the way she smiled at nothing. Not often, just enough. A faint, private smile. The kind that disappears the second you look at it. It wasn't for me, and it wasn't for anyone I knew. It belonged somewhere else. I started listening differently too. You can hear distance before you understand it. It shows up in pauses, in answers that come too quickly, like they've been prepared in advance. She was still there, but less of her came with her. At dinner, she nodded at the right moments, but her mind was somewhere else. At night, she lay beside me, her back turned just slightly farther than before. That tiny distance felt louder than anything she could have said. And still, I said nothing. I watched. Until one evening, she told me she was working late. The sentence was normal. The tone was normal. But something about it felt too perfect, too clean, like it had been rehearsed. That night, she came home just before midnight, calm, tired, exactly the way someone would look after the night she described. And that's when I understood something. If she was lying, she had already learned how to do it well. A few days later, I found the receipt. It slipped out of her coat. 2 meals, 2 glasses of wine, a place nowhere near her office. I stared at it and still tried to explain it away. Maybe, that word again. Because maybe let's hope survive longer than it should. I put it back, and I kept watching. But at that point, I wasn't looking for answers anymore. I was waiting for confirmation, and then it came. She fell asleep on the sofa. That never happened. She was always careful, always structured. But that night, she stayed there, a blanket over her legs, her phone still in her hand. I stared at it for a long time, because I knew, once I moved, there was no version of me I could go back to. But the truth had already crossed that line. So I picked up the phone. My pulse wasn't racing. It was heavy, slow, like something inside me already knew what I was about to find. I entered the passcode, and the second the screen opened, everything became clear. Not one message, weeks of them. Careful, intentional. real, plans, conversations I was never supposed to see, and then I saw it. She had talked about me, not cruelly. Worse, she had reduced me, turned me into something to manage, something temporary, something in the way. That's when it hit. I wasn't being replaced suddenly. I had already been replaced. I just didn't know it yet. He suspects something. Not yet. I just need time. You won't have to deal with this forever. That sentence didn't feel like a message. It felt like a decision. The next morning, I made coffee. She walked in, wearing one of my shirts, looking exactly like the person I had trusted. She smiled, and for a second, I saw the version of her I used to believe in. Then I remembered. I know. That was all I said. 2 words, and everything changed. She froze. I know about him. Silence. She asked how much I knew. Enough. She cried. Said she didn't mean for it to happen, that she was confused, that it started when things felt distant. I listened, but something inside me had already moved on. Because once you see the truth, you don't need every explanation. You just need one decision. When were you going to tell me? She paused, and that pause told me everything. She said she didn't know. I nodded. Then I told her it was over. Not loudly, not emotionally, just clearly, like it had already ended. She left that afternoon, and for the first time in weeks, I wasn't guessing. I wasn't hoping. I knew. She didn't know I was watching. She thought she had more time, but the truth doesn't wait. And when it finally shows itself, it leaves you with one question. Now that you know, what are you going to do? Because the hardest part isn't finding the truth, it's accepting it. And once you do, everything changes.